at Sanford are in previous medical discoveries to do. His philanthropy, love for the city of San Diego, the Padres, and his family will continue on in all of our hearts forever. Peter Siedler, we celebrate your tremendous life and legacy with joy and love. Peter's positive outlook on life should be a guide for all of us today. While there is sadness, today is about celebrating his wonderful life, his steadfastness for making the lives of others better, and his joy for San Diego Padres. I'd like to share a quick reflection on Peter of my own. I learned instantly what a great fan of the game Peter truly was. He explained to me that not only did he watch or listen to every one of his own team's games, but randomly each year would choose another team to follow for the entire season, watching and listening to all of their games. This particular year, for instance, it was the Chicago White Sox. You will not find another owner in Major League Baseball who loves the game as much as Peter did. Soon after, I visited the Monarch School with a group of Padres. A young boy approached me, and he asked if I was with the Padres. And I replied that I was. He then proceeded to ask me where Peter was. And is he coming too? This was a great moment when I realized what kind of person and humanitarian Peter was. That this homeless boy had met Peter in the past, got to know Peter by name, and wanted to see him again. After Peter's passing, I communicated to both Tom and Sheila a message, my personal mission, which as long as I am the voice of the San Diego Padres, will be to never let anyone forget Peter's legacy, who he was, what he meant, and not only to the Padres and their fans, but all those people who live in San Diego. It's a great loss for us all. Please welcome two men who worked very closely with Peter for many years. Co-founder of the Siedler Equity Partners and friend for over 30 years, Padres chairman Eric Siedler, and the man who Peter worked side by side with since his purchase of the team, Padres CEO Eric.
Thank you, Don. On behalf of Sheila Siedler and the entire Padres family, I'd like to add my warm welcome to each of you and thank you for being here today to honor Peter. As many of you know, Peter was a reluctant recipient of praise, often turning the focus of a conversation or interview back on the other party, making them feel uniquely important and appreciated. Well, today it is our turn to return the praise, and while it would have been so much easier to celebrate his life with him here today, we will carry on, certain of his presence in this ballpark that he so loved. Now, I first got to know my friend, my dear friend, Peter Siedler, back in 1996, when he was a young investor, an entrepreneur, really. We were roommates for a few months in those early years and lived in his home in Los Angeles, which featured oddly no furniture, other than a concert-grade drum set staged in the middle of the dining room. It was in those early years that we discovered our mutual love of running. As time went on, Peter's midnight runs would become legendary, usually accompanied by just his iPhone and an earpiece, often pausing to chat with strangers and share a word of encouragement. I think those hours spent alone gave him the space to problem solve, reflect, and experience gratitude for a life being lived well. You may not know that long before he had embarked on those midnight runs around the back roads of San Diego, dressed in a cotton sweatshirt from the 1980s, he was a marathoner. The first marathon he tackled was in Los Angeles. Ooh, in 1999. Peter and I ran together that year in cold temperatures and driving rain. Around mile 23, the course brought us temptingly close to his house. And we were both soaked and sufficiently miserable at this late stage. And with raindrops rolling down his face, he said to me, "I think I'm going home now." And he did. Undeterred, 3 months later, we would run again, this time in the San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon, which he indeed finished in much more civilized conditions. I like to think that Peter knew then that this was where he belonged. In America's finest city, and served to foreshadow the impact he would have on the community of San Diego. The horizons he saw were bright and hopeful. There is more to say than time permits, and anyway, when measured against the eloquence of Peter's life, our words are very inadequate. And so I'll conclude these remarks with his words, spoken just last year. 1 year soon, the baseball gods will smile on San Diego Padres, and we will have a parade. On behalf of all of us gathered here today, we rejoice, dear Peter, that you are now one of those baseball gods, safely tucked into heaven. And we will do our part to fulfill your prophecy, knowing, in fact, that you are with us every step of the way.
A man is judged by the company he keeps. Having the privilege of working closely with both Peter and Eric, I can see why Peter chose him as his dear friend and business partner. Peter Siedler was humble. He had faith, and he loved his family. I first met Peter Siedler in 2012 as he was preparing to buy the Padres. I was immediately struck by his humility. Despite his great business success and legendary family lineage in baseball, he was approachable, affable, curious, and kind. He had no pretense or sense of entitlement about him. Over the next decade, as we worked closely together, he never changed. He remained a kind, humble, and caring man who took time for others, regardless of their status or station in life. Success in business in life did not change Peter. It simply afforded him a greater platform to impact others. As I first got to know Peter, he was enduring cancer treatment and would finish his emails with the words, "All cool here," or ACH for short. He had the unique capacity to see and believe the good and positive outcomes in the midst of the most challenging and difficult circumstances. I've heard many people describe Peter as an optimist, and while that is true, I see it a little differently. Peter had faith. Faith in a better tomorrow, and faith in others. It has been said that faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Peter lived with this type of faith and hope. Faith that San Diego can become a better place, especially for the least fortunate among us. And faith that someday we will have a parade in San Diego. Finally, Peter loved and was committed to his wife and his kids. Sheil, Sadie, Shanti, and Harry were his pride